Today we are going to be doing a draft recap where I go through and give every single team a grade based on the 2026 draft. It's kind of crazy. It's already coming past. I've been getting familiar with this draft class for about a year now, a little less than that. And it's crazy to think that we're already on to the 2027 class. This is always just a fun way to kind of just put a bow on this draft class. Obviously, grades, they're more for fun. Everyone's opinions are going to be different between, fans, analysts, teams, GMs, scouts. It's all relative to the individual opinion, and it's just fun to do. Fun to give grades. You can look back on grades you gave out in the past, and it'll just, it's a lot of fun to analyze. We've been putting in the work for the past year, getting to know a lot of these prospects. So, why not give our opinion on how these teams did, right? If you don't mind doing me a favor and subscribing and liking the video down below, it is a free way to help me out, and I'd really appreciate it as I'm going forward. Just going to be putting out a bunch of more football content, so like and subscribe. Let's get it started with the Arizona Cardinals. I don't have all of these draft classes off the top of my head. I mean, I know a decent amount of picks, but we're going to use the handy dandy NFL.com draft tracker to just kind of go back and take a peek at the full classes so I can get an idea. Just as a preface, I really was familiar with probably about 150, 140-ish players. So there will be a decent amount of these later round picks that I'm just not super familiar on. So those will be weighted less than the picks that I do know. I know, I recognize some names from watching other draft grades content. I know some of the general spiel about some of these guys, but, just to preface, a heavy amount of my grading will just be based off the players that I am familiar with. Obviously, taking a look at like team need, was the position a team need? Can't really put it better than that. And then just draft value, kind of where I had guys ranked in my top 100, the round grades I had on them. Was it good value? Was it a reach? Was it a steal? All those sorts of things. Be a hodgepodge of grading criteria. I don't really have anything hammered out specifically, but we're just gonna roll with it. Starting with the Arizona Cardinals here, who started off with Jeremiah Love. They took Chase Bisontis at the top of the second round, followed up with Carson Beck, Caleb Proctor, Virgil, and a few late day 3 picks. I don't love this draft, and it's tough because Jeremiah Love was my favorite player in this class. So it's, kind of hard to give a team that picks that guy not such a great grade. But I just don't think the Cardinals are in a position to be able to draft running back. That running back is a luxury piece. It is a ceiling raiser, not a floor setter kind of a position. Not that you can't take a running back at the top. It's just I don't think you should unless you have the requisite offensive line and offensive talent around them, which the Cardinals just don't. So I don't love the Jeremiah Love pick. It was a little early for Chase Bisontis. I don't hate it. There was a few more guards I would have preferred. I would have preferred Pregnon and Dunker to Bisontis. I just think Bisontis struggles with play strength. I think he's just a little light and a little, a little weak to play guard in the NFL. Not that he can't build that strength, but just a small critique. Carson Beck at pick 65 is atrocious. He was quarterback 6 for me in this class, I believe. 5th, 6th round kind of a guy. I think all he's ever going to be is a backup, and I'm not even sure he's going to be a quality backup. He doesn't really have any physical traits that blow you away. He's so slow processor. He doesn't have a feel for the pocket. This was an awful pick. And I liked Caleb Proctor. That's right around where I had him, kind of the mid to high 90s. Your typical, put him in on pass rush downs, let him shoot a gap, let him try to blow up a play. With that being said, I think I'm going to roll the Cardinals with a C-, man. It's hard when you get Jeremiah Love to put it that low, but you kind of reach on a guard, and then you take a middling backup with the 65th overall pick. I mean, that's just not a great way to start the draft. Atlanta Cardinals. Atlanta Falcons. Close. Both red birds that start with an A. I don't know why they named them like that. It's confusing. Select Avion Terrell, Zachariah Branch, Kendall Daniels, Harold Perkins. I did not love this class. I definitely was lower on Avion Terrell than consensus. I had him kind of more towards 70, the high 60s. I know he tweaked his hamstring in his 40-yard dash where he ended up running like a 4.66 or something like that. I still question his long speed. I don't think he's quite as sticky in coverage as you would want him to be at his size and speed. I'm worried he's going to be stuck in a slot-only role in the NFL because of his physical limitations. I don't think he's a bad player whatsoever. I just think there are a good amount of better corners on the board for you. It's a cool story, and I hope it works out for him and his brother because it's just fun, but pick 48 was a little rich for me. Zachariah Branch, that's right around where I had him. Kind of underutilized and underdeveloped at Georgia because just the offense with Gunnar Stockton and the play calling was just not good. Popped up when watching Oscar Delp as well. It's just an anemic offense and they didn't ask him to do too much that you need an NFL receiver to do, but I still think he has it in him. His combine 40 shows up on tape, like you see it on the field. He's pretty elusive and shifty with the ball in his hands. So at the very least, he could be a short area, kind of get the ball in his hands, screens, dump offs, crossing routes, and just see what he can do. But I think he could develop his route tree and become a legit wide receiver 2 there in Atlanta. Kendall Daniels, I'm not super familiar with, nor am I familiar with Ontario Thompson. Harold Perkins, I don't know. He's just small. He's just small and not super athletic. Kind of unfortunate for him because I think he's got the head for the game. It just, when you're that small, short strider, it's hard to be impactful. Starting off with 2 not so great drafts. I don't love it, man. I thought you could have gotten a better corner there at pick 48 with Abney or Everett, or I think Abney and Everett were the 2 I had better than him. I'm trying to remember who else was there. I honestly would take the flyer on McCoy. I know he's probably not going to play this year, but I would have done that. And then I thought they could have done more on day 3. I just didn't really think they got any impact players at all. I just don't see how any of these guys make an impact on the team. So it's going to be... Actually, we're going to move it to a D because I just don't see this being a very impactful draft. I just don't. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens, we are finally going to get a positive draft grade. Vega Wane, I thought was the best offensive lineman in this class. Super high floor, plug and play. I loved it. Zion Young, that was right around where I had him as a big, heavy-handed edge who really worked on his pass rushing ability this season. And I think he'll fit great in Ravens. Like, he's such a Ravens-y coded player. Jacoby Lane, I thought this was an awful pick. He wasn't even top 20 in my receivers. I just don't see an NFL athlete and the ways he won in college. I just don't think he was dominant enough in those aspects to where it'll translate to the NFL. They backed it up with taking Elijah Surratt, who I had a second-round grade on. I had him, I think, 7th in my receiving room, so that's an excellent pick phenomenal big slot corner who's super QB friendly. Chandler Rivers, I thought, was a pretty good steal. I mean, he's just a small corner, but he just is so smart and so quick to the ball. You know, could play the slot. He could play outside in kind of like a dime package. He's not strictly restricted to the slot because he's a pretty good athlete. Cuevas was right around where I had him, 5th round kind of a guy. Randall was a bit of a reach. I thought Rayshawn Benny was pretty good value in the 7th round. Just a really solid high floor defensive tackle that I probably had around 4th or 5th round grade to him if I remember correctly. So pretty good value there, pretty good value for Rivers, really amazing value Surratt, and I love their top 2 picks. The Jacoby Lane pick is what's going to knock it down a smidge. I probably would have it as an A if he wasn't picked, but actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it an A. I probably would have it at an A+. If you just erase that pick, even if you didn't pick anybody else, if you just took him off this board, I think this would be an A+ draft. I think they did amazing with their top picks, and they were really good at finding value down the board as well. On to the Buffalo Bills, where they started off with T.J. Parker. I loved this pick. This was a little actually below where I had him. I had Parker at 28, I believe, so getting a little bit of value there. They got a lengthy, big, athletic corner in Davison Igmanosin, whose biggest gripe is his penalties, which we saw decrease from his sophomore season to his junior season, so it got a lot better. Jude Bowery, who this is right around where I had him, kind of a swing tackle, can plug and play if you need him to. Maybe could develop into a potential long-term starter, but I think he's probably going to just stick as a really high-floor, good backup. Skylar Bell, probably the steal of the draft for me. I mean, I had him as my 17th best player in this class as wide receiver 4. I love Skylar Bell. Phenomenal pick. How he made it to the 4th round, I just don't know, man. I mean, you'd think with the resurgence of these slot receivers and their abilities to just get open, guys who just get open, create space, get the ball in their hands, and then they're dynamic with their ball in their hands. That is what Skylar Bell is. I know it was at a lower level of competition, but he's just so elusive. He's so good with his routes. I don't know. I fell to the 4th. I love it. Jalen Kilgore, I had him a good bit higher than this, closer to 190. Really explosive Tracy, probably slot defender at the next level. Zane Durant, that's probably around where I had him. Small, undersized, athletic defender. To take a punter. The only thing that's really lifting this is Skylar Bell. I think everyone else, Jalen Kilgore is pretty good value. But the other picks were kind of right around where I had guys. I like T.J. Parker a lot, but man, getting Skylar Bell in the 4th is enough to make it an A for me. I mean, I just think you're getting a long-term wide receiver 2 at worst with the 125th pick in the draft. I mean, it's just phenomenal. That's just phenomenal. Carolina Panthers here next. Monroe Freeling. That's not bad. He was towards the bottom of my grouping of tackles that I liked. I liked Iheanacho and Lomu better than him. I just think he's a little bit raw in the run game. A lot of mental errors in the run game. So I get the need, and I like the player. There was a couple of guys I would rather have seen. Lee Hunter at 49 kind of feels redundant with the rest of their defensive line. I mean, he's just a run defending, low pass rush upside defensive line player, which I feel like they already have on that defensive line. I would have liked to them try to diversify that D line. Chris Brazzell, I just wasn't a big fan of. Height, weight, speed freak, but I didn't see the playmaking ability. I didn't see the route running. And I know it's scouting the helmet a little bit, but I just get worried with these Tennessee receivers in a Josh Heupel offense. I just don't. Not a fan. Will Lee is fine. Sam Hecht was pretty good value. I'm shocked he fell this far. I probably would have had him closer to the 80s, 90s, if I recall correctly. And same with Zakee Wheatley. How he fell to the 5th round, I don't know, man. Just a really solid, tall. He could probably put on a few pounds, and he's not the quickest, but safety is a position where you don't need to, be lightning quick to be super effective. I mean, he is quick to read and react on over the middle of the field throws. He's a sure tackler. I like Zakee Wheatley a lot better than pick 151. This is one where I feel like the value down the board really carries the day because I'm not in love with their top 2 picks. So I think I'm going to roll with a B+. I don't hate the first 2 picks. But definitely a lot of the value being carried in Wheatley and Hecht here. Next, we're going to move on to the Bears, who get Dylan Thieneman. Vikings pass on him for whatever reason. Phenomenal pick. They lose Jaquan Brisker. They replace him with a sick free safety who is plug and play at free safety. I mean, it's ridiculous. Logan Jones I didn't love. There are plenty of centers and interior offensive linemen I liked better. Sam Roush, that's an okay pick. A couple of tight ends I liked better on the board. I didn't see it with Sam Roush. Xavier Thomas wasn't even on my radar. And I know a lot of people are not fond of that pick. Again, other receivers I'd just much rather have. Malik Muhammad, a little bit of a smaller corner, kind of a slot guy, feisty corner. I like that pick. Elliott and Vanderberg are fine selections. It's really Thieneman doing a lot of the heavy lifting, man, because I'm not a fan of the next few picks. I'd probably roll with a C+ here. As we move on to the Bengals, Cassius Howell was a pretty solid pick, right around where I had him. This was pretty early for Tacario Davis for me. I like his size, but just really stiff hips, does not move well if he's not moving in a straight line. So that is a bit of a reach. Connor Lew is a phenomenal pick, however, and so is Jack Andrews. Just great value on those two. I was a big fan of Connor Lew. Super athletic, young. I like Cassius Howell, and I like Connor Lew enough to not let the Tacario Davis pick really ruin this, but I'm going to go with a B. I think it's right down the middle there. So we move on to the Browns. This one, I think I'm going to be against consensus because I just wasn't as huge of a fan of Casey Concepcion. I know there's a lot of people who had him as a first-round wide receiver. I didn't even have him as a top 50 guy. I think he's pretty redundant with Jerry Jeudy. I don't think his hands are very good. He separates pretty well, and he's got good speed, but I didn't see quite the pop that I feel like his reputation carried throughout this draft process. I like Denzel Boston. Getting Emmanuel McNill at 58 is a slam dunk. I thought Austin Barber was pretty early, and I'm just not super familiar with the rest of these guys down the board. So I still think it's a phenomenal draft. You walk away with Fano, Boston, Emmanuel McNill, and I still do like Casey Concepcion. It was pretty early for me, and so was Austin Barber. I did not like this pick at 86 here. I think a lot of people are having it as like A+ or A. I'm probably more towards an A-. I would have rather have them gone maybe Omar Cooper here instead of Concepcion, or just take Denzel Boston here, honestly. As we move on to the Cowboys, who have a pretty solid draft. I'm a little bummed that Jayshawn Barham is being drafted to play linebacker because I thought he has really good upside at edge. Devin Moore is an interesting prospect, really big, lengthy. I thought LT Overton was good value at that point. Caleb Downs is phenomenal, and I think Malachi Lawrence has a lot of upside with his length and athleticism. Getting Caleb Downs, pick 11 is pretty ridiculous. I thought he was the second best player in this class. I'm going to go with a B plus. I just didn't think they got a ton of value down the board. I'd be a lot more happy if Barham was playing edge, but him at linebacker is less exciting. As we move to the Denver Broncos, Tyler Onyedum, I wasn't even familiar with. Plenty of D tackles that I knew that I would rather have had. Jonah Coleman, good value here. Justin Jolie, really good value. I think he's going to fit perfectly with what Denver is looking to do. Nothing too crazy. Probably a C plus draft here. No huge reaches, but it's tough to come away with great value when you only have third round picks and later. Detroit Lions take Blake Miller. That is a solid, fine pick with me. They get one of the steals of the draft with Keith Abney. You have no idea how he was there in the 5th round. Just really physical, smart man and zone defender. I think he's going to compete to start right away. Derek Moore was a bad pick. No way for me to parse it. I didn't think he was worth that 44th pick, and there was plenty of guys on the board who definitely were. This is probably just a B draft for me. I think the Keith Abney value is really nice, and Blake Miller is a really solid pick, but Derek Moore holds it back from being anything better than that. Green Bay, another draft class that I'm probably lower on than consensus. I did not like Brandon Cease. I think he's a total project at corner. I just did not see the sticky coverage ability. He's freakishly athletic, but I just didn't see it. Chris McClellan is fine. I thought he got a little bit too much hype. I had him more towards 100, 110. And then down the board, there was no elite value picks. Although I do like Dennis Sutton there in the 4th. It's probably it's probably a C for me, honestly. I'm gonna move the Broncos down too. I think getting Thieneman, getting that kind of A plus kind of a player, kind of sets him above with those guys. But I just didn't love this class. I just did nothing egregiously bad, but didn't love it. Houston Texans reach on Keelan Rutledge. I didn't love that. They got Cade McDonald at 36, which I thought was pretty good value. I mean, he's a one-man run defense. Reached on Marlon Klein. Reached on Wade Woodaz. Just lots of reaches, man. Fabechi, I don't know how to say his last name. I've heard it a million times, but yeah, I mean, Cade McDonald's really good value, but everything else, I mean, I like Rutledge. He was a top 50 player for me, but a lot closer to 50 than 26. This is another one. It's just a C plus. I really like Cade McDonald. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And I do like Rutledge, but it's just super early for Rutledge, man, especially trading up for that. Indianapolis Colts. C.J. Allen was a little early for me, but they make up for it with the next 2 picks, taking Jalen Farmer and A.J. Halsey. I love both of these players. Halsey, just a really thick, nasty sideline-to-sideline safety. He's not going to, run with you over the top, but man, is he just a fun kind of a throwback safety. And Jalen Farmer is just a physical freak, man. Physical freak who isn't completely lost playing the position. Like Bryce, Betcher, George Gums, Caden Curry. Seth McGowan in the 7th I thought was pretty good value, and Deion Burks in the 7th was definitely good value. I know he's small, but I thought he was more of a 4th, 5th round kind of a guy. So I like this draft. I thought they got some legit contributors on this team, even though I'm just not quite as high on C.J. Allen as most. I think this is a nice B draft for me. On to Jacksonville. This one's not going to take super long. The only thing that isn't awful about this is Pregnon. I'm also higher on Tanner Koziel. I know a lot of people shit on this pick too. I like Tanner Koziel a lot. I think he's a red zone demon. I like him way better than Nate Borkature. Can't really block at all, but I don't care. I think he's so phenomenal in the pass game, especially short yardage. Other than that, the rest of these picks are all reaches. Regis is not a horrible reach, but not a good draft. Not a good draft. Kansas City Chiefs trade up for Mansour Delane. They take Peter Woods. Both fine selections for me. Probably a little early for both of them. I was a little lower on Delane than consensus. I had him more towards the end of the teens as opposed to top 10. So trading up for him gets a little rich. Peter Woods, again, I was just a little lower on him. I just get worried about small defensive tackles. Didn't love the R. Mason Thomas pick. Plenty of better edge rushers there on the board. Jaden Kennedy's a fine pick. Not super athletic, but a headsy player. Emmett Johnson, again, not super athletic, but more shifty. I think he'll make a role on this team. Garrett Nussmeier's, I don't know how he fell there to the 7th. I thought he was more of a kind of end of the 3rd round kind of a guy, so that's pretty good value there. This is probably a B+ for me because they get a couple of players that I do like. The value wasn't fantastic. I think they make up for it with Johnson and Nussmeier towards the end there. As we move on to the Las Vegas Raiders, who take Mendoza, they, after that, did not love what they did. Reached on Trayden Stukes, an old prospect who's probably just a one-contract guy. I just didn't see it with him. I also just didn't see it with Keon Crawford, man. Another situation. I've been saying it with these edge players. Just plenty of other guys there that I'd rather have. Like, plenty of other guys there. Trey Zune, it's a fine pick. It's probably a bit early for me. Obviously, Jermon McCoy is a fantastic steal. Injury concerns are what pushed him down, but it's the first pick of the 4th round. I mean, he's still there. You kind of have to take him. Mike Washington and the rest of this board is fine. Good value. I don't love this draft. I just don't. They draft a young quarterback who I like. They don't add any receivers. They don't really add much to help him. Or their young, running back Ashton Jeanty. I just don't love it. I don't like the value. I don't like the selections, and I feel like they ignored positions of need. I'm going to go with another C. I just haven't loved a lot of these drafts. We're going to take a look at the Chargers now. Key Messidor, pretty awesome pick, man. I had him as edge 3 in this class. This is right around where I was comfortable taking him, probably even a little later. Good value on him here. Jake Slaughter, it's just early for me. Just really early for me. I just didn't see the strength or the athleticism. I just didn't seem like an NFL athlete to me. This is fine for Brennan Thompson. Really good at tracking the deep ball. It's not just speed. He actually has, talent and skill down the field as well. I know sometimes we just kind of, guy runs fast and we go, oh, he's just a fast guy. No, he can track the deep ball pretty well. Travis Burke, really large human developmental swing tackle. Genesis Smith is fine. The rest of this board is fine. Another one I just don't love. I don't love Jake Slaughter at 63. I like that they addressed wide receiver. I wish they probably would have hit. I don't know. I just feel like with this such a bad offensive line, that you take Jake Slaughter at 63, man. I don't hate it. I don't love it. This is probably a B- for me here. As we move on to the Rams, another one I do not like. The only pick I actually like here is Tim Keenan, who I had as like a 3rd or a 4th round guy. 2-down player, run stuffing nose tackle, really good at it. CJ Daniels, that's fine value. Keegan Frost, I didn't even know this guy existed. I like Max Clare a lot. He was my tight end 2 in this class, but they have like 7 tight ends on the board, and I just don't on their team. I just don't know what the thought process is. And then with Ty Simpson, it's the same conversation we've heard with plenty of other people. You're in a win now mode. You were coming into the draft, I think Super Bowl favorites. I don't know why you don't take a player that helps increase that. I get planning for the future, but man, if you can go get one this year, you do everything you can to go get one this year. Again, did not love this class. I didn't think it was awful because I still like the players. I like Keenan a lot. I like Ty Simpson as a player. I like Max Clare. I just the process and the decision making I just did not think was very good. As we move on to the Miami Dolphins, who had a cajillion picks in this class. Started off with Caden Proctor. Did not love that. Thought there were plenty of other better offensive linemen, whether you want to tackle or guard. Chris Johnson's fine. Solid pick. I like Chris Johnson. It's a little early for Jacob Rodriguez for me. I know he kind of had a big hype train coming towards the draft there, but I didn't quite hop on it. He was more of a third round pick, mid to late third round pick for me. Caleb Douglas, by all accounts, is an incredible reach. Will Kazmarek, fun, blocking, nasty tight end. Right around Chris Bell, that's where I'm comfortable with him. Kyle Lewis was an absolute steal. So was Kevin Coleman Jr. I love both of those players. Both of those were in my 60s, I think. So to get them at 138 and 177, I think is phenomenal. I mean, Kevin Coleman Jr., I think, is the best receiver that they drafted. He's better than Chris Bell, and he's definitely better than Caleb Douglas. So that does a lot of heavy lifting with this draft. Max Llewellyn in the 7th, that's a fun one. You have so many darts, you chuck at a board, you're bound to hit some of them. As a whole, I wish they would have gone elsewhere with their first pick, and Caleb Douglas is just a bad pick. I don't think this is an awful class, because I do like Proctor. It's just, it was a bit early, and, basically every offensive lineman that went after him in the first round I would have rather have had. I'm going to roll with a B, because I still think you got a decent amount of good players. I just don't love the process on how they got it, if that makes sense. Moving on to Minnesota, I don't love this class. Caleb Banks, it was just early for me. Big fan of Jake Golday. This is right around where I had him. Just big, lengthy, plays really fast. Big Citrus, I'm a big fan of this pick. I think pairing him with Banks makes a lot of sense. Caleb Tiernan's a fun one. Can swing tackle. Can play guard if you need him to. Then you get Damone Claiborne at the end of the draft. Fun, athletic, flyer of a running back. I don't love this class, but you added a few players who can raise the floor of your defense. This is probably a B- for me. No egregious picks in my mind, but just not a ton of playmakers or difference makers in my eyes. As we go to New England, Caleb Lomu, love that pick. Gabe Akis, love that pick. Great values, positions of needs. Eli Raritan, that was a fine selection. And then I'm just not super familiar with the rest of this board, man. A lot of late picks that I just am not super familiar with. I mean, Jam Miller, super athletic, but by all accounts, just not a good running back. But these first two picks are sensational. Both of them were top 25 players for me. So to get both of them outside of the top 25 and to get Gabe Akis at 55 is pretty good. And I don't hate any of these picks. This is a B+ for me. I like this draft a lot. I think you got two legit top end players on both sides of the line there. As we move on to the New Orleans Saints, Jordan Tyson, really good pick. If he could stay healthy, I have some concerns about it, but I think he's a phenomenal player. Super twitchy and bursty in his routes. Great after the catch. Just so fun to pair him. That offense is going to be fun this year. I'm really looking forward to this to the Saints offense. Christian Miller, a really high floor run defender with some pass rushing upside. I think he brings some beef to that defensive line that really needs it. Brian Brzee has not figured it out in the NFL yet. Oscar Delp, that's a okay selection. I didn't quite have a third round grade on him, but I don't think it's a ridiculous reach. I thought you got a pretty good value on Bryce Lance. I kind of had him more towards the third round, just a big down the field threat. And Lorenzo Styles, athletic flyer, hard hitter, straight line speed. That's a fun pick. I like this class. I like this class a lot. I think it's gonna be a B plus. I think there's a chance you get some real difference makers around Tyler Shough there. As we move to the New York Giants, who listen, man, I really like this class. I know they've got a lot of edge players, but they're probably going to play Reese at linebacker. He was my number 2 player in this class, or my number 2 edge in this class, I should say. Maui Noah, I think, is phenomenal. Long term, you could play him at tackle, but right away, you can play him at guard, and I think he will transition seamlessly. Colton Hood's a really solid pick. Malachi Fields is probably a little early for me, but I don't hate it. And then to get J.C. Davis at pick 192, I think is phenomenal. I think he could start at guard as well. I think he's that strong and athletic. I love J.C. Davis way more than pick 192. This is an A- draft for me. Actually, no, this is an A draft for me. I love this draft. I think you got 5 starters in, what is this, 7 picks. I'm a big fan of this draft class. Moving on to the Jets. David Bailey, I like the player. There's just a couple other players I would have rather have had. I did not like the Sadiq pick. I'm not quite as high on Sadiq. I have him more towards the end of the first. More of a true top 50 grade as opposed to a true first round grade. Omar Cooper, that's right around where I had him. I love D'Angelo Pons. I really like the value of Darrell Jackson Jr. as well. Just a really big physical defender. This is another one where the top of the draft leaves me less impressed, but you kind of get into this middle range here and you get 3 guys who I think can make legit impacts on your team. This is going to be an A- for me here because I still do like David Bailey enough to not hate that pick. Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Kai Lemon is a really solid pick. Good value at a position of need. Basically, I feel like seals the deal that A.J. Brown's out the door. Eli Stowers is a little early for me. He's basically just a receiver. I mean, he doesn't block at all. And I just didn't think he was quite athletic enough to go this high as just a receiver. Markel Bell, this was a little early for me. I thought he was a bit more of a project than what I would be comfortable taking at pick 68, but he's a fun one. Cole Payton, I don't get. Micah Morris, that's a fine pick. Super athletic, doesn't know what he's doing. Cole Wisniewski, that's a super fun one. Kind of the exact opposite of Micah Morris, honestly. Pretty unathletic and unphysically gifted, but is always in the right place at the right time and just kind of knows what he's doing. Take a flyer on the kid from Nigeria, I believe this is. Pretty solid draft. I don't love it as much as the others do. The Lemon pick is awesome. These 2 middle rounds really don't bring a ton of value to me. This is going to be probably a B plus draft here. There were no egregious reaches, I wouldn't say, but I thought you could have got more value at some of these picks. As we move to the Steelers, my Steelers, Max Ionichor, really love that pick. Best available, or actually I preferred Caleb Lomo to Ionichor, but they were pretty neck and neck. Really solid. They needed an offensive tackle really bad. Jeremy Bernard, such a high floor, high effort player. Pair him next to DK and Pittman, I think will be so fun. I find myself higher on Everett. I really liked his physicality and his size and athleticism. The exact type of corner that the Steelers love to get. I don't know what their plan is for the slot. I don't think he could be a day 1 starter because I think it's a pretty full room. So I don't love it in that aspect, but I do like the player. Jennings Dunker was a slam dunk pick. just a super physical, athletic guard at the next level. I didn't love the Caden Wetgen pick. Skylar Bell was on the board. I know he's a great returner, but it's the 4th round. I mean, maybe the 5th, I would be okay with it, but to take just a pure specialist at pick 121 when there's like Kyle Lewis was on the board, I think Keontae Scott was on the board. I'm pretty sure Kilgore and Skylar Bell and Kevin Coleman were all on the board. I don't love that pick there. Ryan Nowakowski, it's a similar conversation. Really just picking a guy to fill a role. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And then I thought the 2 7th round picks actually brought pretty good value. Pretty athletic, hard-hitting safety, special teamer. And then he's listed as a running back, but he's probably more of a slot receiver, gadget kind of a guy. All in all, I liked the draft. I thought the Steelers brought in a good amount of impact players who can make a difference this year. I didn't even talk about Drew Aller. Don't love this pick. I would rather have had Nussmeier, and it's just early. He's an older prospect who's played a lot, who just doesn't look good. I don't love it. All in all, I'd probably give this a B. Brought in some pretty good impact players, but there were some picks that left more to be desired. This will be a quick one. I don't love this draft. The only pick that I really felt matched my value was height, Halton, and Prysock. And it's not like those were stealing value. It's just those weren't massive reaches the way Stribling, Black were. You had an opportunity to get impact players, to get offensive linemen and receivers that can make a difference, and I just didn't think they did that. I don't think it's quite an F, because I do like Halton and I do like height. I think you got some fun pieces on the defensive line, but I just didn't love it. Seattle Seahawks, Janarian Price, Bud Clark, Julian Neal. Love those picks. I found myself higher on all 3 of them than consensus. I thought Julian Neal's size and athleticism at corner is exactly what the Seahawks love. He's such a Seahawks player. It makes perfect sense. Bud Clark, man, so fun. What a gambler back there, man. Not afraid to risk it, to make a big play, to make an interception, to get a PBU. Super athletic. He's got the frame to put a little bit of size on, and with proper coaching, I think he could sure up to be a pretty good tackler. And Janarian Price is just a super fun player. They needed a running back. They just won a Super Bowl. Their roster's really good. They can take a luxury pick. This is a luxury pick at the back end of the first round that I don't hate. Andre Fuller's fun. CBU at Toledo. Another big corner just to add to that room, see if he can make the team. I like it. I mean, there's no slam dunk picks where I'm just like crazy value, but no reaches in my opinion, and they got solid players. Can't hate them for it. Moving on to the Buccaneers. Yeah, the Buccaneers steal the draft. I mean, best player in this class, I think, factoring in positional value. Ruben Bain was awesome. I know the off-the-field things came up. I know the arm length gate was a thing, but phenomenal player. Fell to 15. If I'm a Buccaneers fan, I'm just ecstatic about this. I'm loving this. That being said, I thought Josiah Trotter was pretty early. There's multiple linebackers that I would rather have had. I didn't love his coverage ability. I thought he was a little slow-footed and didn't have the instincts in zone coverage. He's a good run defender, but I don't think he's worth the 46th pick. Ted Hurst, solid, big-bodied, deep threat kind of a guy. I think that's fine value. I think they got another steal with another Miami guy, Keontae Scott. You're never going to ask him to man anybody up. That's just not what he's going to do. But he's going to be a tough, hard-nosed run defender, good in zone coverage, smart player. I really like Capehart in the 5th. I think he kind of brings an edge to that interior defensive line, a little bit of athleticism to that defensive line. I'm not super familiar with these 2 picks, but I don't know how you don't give it an A+. You get Ruben Bain at 15, and you don't completely piss away the other draft picks. I mean, I didn't love Trotter, but that's not an awful reach, I don't think. But I think you get Bain at 15. I mean, how do you... It's ridiculous that he fell that far. It is ridiculous. Titans at 4 took Carnell Tate. A little early for me. There are definitely some other players that I thought were certainly better than him that I would have taken. But I do really like the player. I not anything to take away from Carnell Tate. Just interesting selection there. Keldrick Falk, I thought that was right around where I had him going. I like that pick a lot. Real physical, toolsy kind of a guy. Anthony Hill is just a little bit early. Super fast, athletic linebacker. Robert Saleh gets a guy who maybe he can get his hands on it and mold him into, a top-tier guy because he's got the traits. Nick Singleton in the 5th, that's, about right. Super athletic, no vision. Pat Coogan in the 6th, that's a fun, hopefully makes the team as a swing guard. All in all, not a bad class. I thought there were some reaches with Hill and Tate just a little bit. I thought they had an opportunity to get some real difference makers on the defensive line. I would probably rather of them have gone, like Arvell Reese here or Ruben Bain here, and then Boston, or, maybe trade up to get Cooper, or, even Bernard here. I would rather have gone that, but you still got good players on this team, so I can't hate on it too much. I think it's certainly a B+ draft there. And finally, we are going to wrap it up with the Commanders. Didn't have that many picks. Sonny Styles, I thought, was a really solid pick. I think he's just an athletic freak. Teach tape at tackling, teach tape at zone drops, reading the quarterback, playing in space. He's just phenomenal. Antonio Williams was a bit early for me. There were just some guys I would much rather have who I think have higher ceilings than Williams does. And then Kaytron Allen in the 6th, I think, is pretty good value. I liked Kaytron Allen more as like a 4th round pick. I think he was running back 4 for me. So I thought that was pretty good value, but other than Styles, nothing fantastic. It's probably a B- draft. There you have it. These are my rankings off the dome for the 2026 NFL draft class. Obviously, things can change. I will certainly be wrong on a good amount of these, because that's just how it is. That's how it goes. No one is a perfect expert on any of these players, situations, teams. You have it. Let me know what you think down below. Any picks? I'm so used to doing mock drafts. Any grades you would have done differently? Anything you agree with, disagree with? Whether it's an individual player assessment or the team as a whole. Just let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure to subscribe, like the video. I'm going to be putting out some sort of content here over the next few months. I'm going to figure out what that is now that we're not really in draft season, but there will be football or sports content on this page. So subscribe, stick around to see that. But I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good